In a couple of minutes remaining, we were talking about this EU review or investigation into Apple's tax arrangements in Ireland. Maureen O'Sullivan, the independent deputy, raised this more broad issue, and I think we heard a parry from the Taoiseach, the government's line. We're looking forward to hearing what the OECD has to say about this, and of course the issue isn't the tax rate. It's the way various tax laws are used across national boundaries by companies to minimise tax rate, the tax take.
He's maintaining that our corporate tax rates are ethically implemented and will stand up to any scrutiny. And he's also said that Ireland would be very upfront in the way in which will cooperate with any investigation or any review, as long as it's done in an international setting. So he's putting it into. It's not an Irish solution to an Irish problem. They're looking for an international solution to what he says is an international problem.
What he wasn't asked about was this specific EU inquiry, David.
No, he was asked about Ireland's adherence to a set of OECD guidelines for profit shifting by multinationals, and whether we intend to sign up to them. Now, Maureens O'Sullivan didn't get an answer to that. I have to confess I'm not entirely conversant with the guidelines myself, but I can imagine that they would be they would raise issues for Ireland's tax arrangements with some multinational companies.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, the government would hope, Thomas Byrne, presumably that everybody would move together simultaneously and in the same direction on this.
Well, it's absolutely essential because, as I said, American legislation has a huge role to play in this, and I think American senators who criticise Ireland, American politicians who criticise Ireland are somehow passing the buck when they know the reality themselves. But I think I do agree with the Taoiseach. There's a lot of employment in these companies, there's a lot of good employment in these companies, and indeed there's a lot of Irish people operating at very senior levels in these companies because of the fact that they're based here, or many of them have their headquarters. So I think we have to start at that premise and then work back. But it is the Oireachtas Finance Committee is looking at this. I think the Department of Finance is looking at this already. These matters are already been looked at in Ireland in a comprehensive way. But it is a fact.
So are we inevitably now facing a much tighter regime internationally?
Well, internationally, possibly, but I think that will only move ahead internationally. We're not going to go on our own and disadvantage our own country, disadvantage the jobs that are here because of that, disadvantage our own reputation.
But are we facing a situation in which we could well be our tax advantages will be progressively eroded in the context of this international reform?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, first of all, we'd set our own tax rates and our own tax law. That's a fact. The European Commission, we don't know the full details of the investigation there. I'd be confident that we'll come out of that unscathed, I have to say. Our laws, as the teacher keeps saying, it's a bit boring, our statute based. We don't do deals with companies.
But we know the companies, we know from the figures that companies are paying maybe 1 or 2%. That's their effective tax rate.
On corporation tax in some cases, yes. But don't forget there's a lot of other taxes.
They're using our laws to do that.
They're using a whole range of laws with Ireland, the Netherlands, the US. It's a whole range of laws that are being used. But they're also paying a lot of taxes in PRSI, PAYE, etc. There's a huge contribution being made. And I certainly always start at that premise because I'm delighted every time I see a multinational investing in this country. I'd like to see our tax rates maintained. It has to happen. That's our prerogative. And I think we should work with the international community to progress this, but not go alone.
Okay, well, there we leave it. Thomas Byrne, thank you very much indeed for with us. Thanks also to Harry McGee and to David Davenport.